Good morning. It's Monday, January 6, 2025. This is a special meeting of the Commissioners of the City of Rehoboth Beach. It is immediately following the workshop meeting of this morning. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 10:48 a.m. In lieu of the roll call, I'll state that all the commissioners are present but for Commissioner Gossett. Also present is City Secretary Ann Womack, City Manager Taylor Tedder, and Max Walton. Our interim city manager is on the city solicitor. I'm sorry, is on the phone with us. With that, I wanted to thank all those that are watching virtually. And I would thank the public, but we have nobody here right now. We'll remind those that are watching remotely that support documents are available and embedded in the agenda. And we will be omitting item A, number 2. It was inadvertently put in. That is for a future meeting. With that, the purpose of this special meeting is twofold: to hear something in the matter of 330 Rehoboth Avenue and in the matter of 8 Wilmington Avenue. We'll start off with item A, in the matter of property located at 330 Rehoboth Avenue. Consider a resolution to set a date for the continuation of a prior public hearing on the subject of potentially amending the Rehoboth Beach zoning map referred to at Chapter 270, Section 270-7 of the Municipal Code of Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, 2001, and the zoning district boundaries as referred to at Chapter 270, Section 270-8 of the Municipal Code by potentially rezoning a portion of the property located at 330 Rehoboth Avenue, Sussex County, tax number, parcel number as cited in the agenda, from R1 Single Family Residence District to C1 Central Commercial District, and to consider amendment of the city's comprehensive plan in accordance therewith, and to provide a commercial designation to the area of the property currently designated as residential on the comprehensive plan. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our interim city solicitor, Max Walton.
Mayor, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. As you may recall, we had a hearing on 330 Rehoboth following remand from the Superior Court. The Superior Court remanded for reasons in the record and said we needed to do it over again. We had that hearing. During the hearing, it came up that the comprehensive development plan had been amended since the application was made, and it was inconsistent. We stalled at the request of the applicant. We paused the hearing and for future consideration and to include on the agenda a potential amendment to the comprehensive plan map. Generally, you would have to go through plus the preliminary land use service review process prior to seeking an amendment to the comprehensive plan. Following our last public hearing, I reached out to the Office of State Planning, who had kind of instructed me that under this unique circumstance, that they would allow the commissioners to vote first, and then they would consider the plus amendment after. They indicated that they may waive a full plus hearing. I was not comfortable making representations on behalf of the council on sort of that, basically to ask for a waiver or anything else until you guys voted. That the Office of State Planning said that would be fine. If the amendment passes, then at that time the applicant could go through the plus process or request a waiver. But I wasn't comfortable doing that on behalf of the city until we had a vote, and the Office of State Planning is fine with that in this instance under these particular circumstances. So to bottom line it, bottom line it is, we would have the public hearing, we would vote, and then it would be the applicant's job. The way it's written is to get plus approval within 120 days afterwards. That's the way the ordinance is currently written. I have not heard from the applicant, despite many attempts to reach them. But this cures our agenda problem for 330 Rehoboth.
Mayor, question, if I could?
Commissioner Thier.
Yeah, so I just want to, the city solicitor just said a lot, and really what I want to confirm is what should the process be, right? So is the process plus application first, followed by our public hearing, or is it always public hearing first, and then it is the responsibility of the applicant to file for plus?
Ann, can I get Air Media up, please? Thank you. Max, were you able to hear that question?
Commissioner Thier, I think I heard you, and I'm going to try to answer it for you. As a general matter, before the comprehensive plan is amended, the municipality or the applicant goes to the preliminary land use service review or plus process. They get a recommendation, and that comes as part of the application. In this so that usually happens first, to answer your question.
Okay.
In this particular case, because it had already been voted on, and because there had been a subsequent amendment with the of the comprehensive plan while the legal proceedings were going on, I asked state planning how they wanted to handle it, and they would be fine considering it after the commissioners, because I don't want to represent on behalf of y'all that you guys want a comprehensive plan amendment until you vote and tell me that you want the rezoning or not. So that was sort of a special accommodation that we tried to work out in this instance. But the usual process, to answer your question, Commissioner, is usually different.
Okay. So just two follow-up questions, if I could. So one is, it sounds like the plus application can either be submitted or different terms applied for by the municipality, the city in this case, or by the applicant.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Usually it requires the sign off for a comprehensive plan by the municipality to at least allow them to go forward.
Okay. So I think just to confirm what I think I just heard is that if the applicant wants to submit plus, they need the municipality to sign off on it first?
For a comprehensive plan amendment, yes. They can go there for proposed rezoning without the municipality's green light.
Okay. What action would the city have to take? Does that require the mayor and commissioners to vote?
What action would to send it to plus? Generally, it's a little fuzzy, Commissioner. Generally, at least to have some body of the city say, take this forward to plus, be that the planning commission, etc. I've had occasions where the planning commission has forwarded it on to said, yes, you can go forward with plus, and then the commissioners vote down the amendment. But yes, usually there's somebody, and that's why we have it on the agenda, or we'll have it on the agenda. There's some body that authorizes that plus process. And in this case, for you guys, I thought it should be the commissioners.
Yeah, I would think, since, the mayor and commissioners are the only body that has the authority to make a change, right, to zoning, whatever it may be, at least logically, this body would want to, if not have to, authorize somebody to go do a plus application.
That's been generally my practice.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions of Max or comments? We have nobody, members of the public here, so I'm not.
Mayor, just, I'm happy that
Commissioner Good?
City resources will be limited, and that the applicant, it's at the applicant's discretion, assuming they are successful in their, in their request request for, their rezoning request to get this, so I would hope you won't spend much time, you know, it's, the ball's in their court if and when it becomes relevant. The fact that you haven't heard from them, I mean, maybe there's some hope they're not interested in more litigation, well, and continuing with this application. So please keep us informed if they've had a change of heart on this. Thank you.
I will say, Commissioner, I tried to reach out to them 3 or 4 times about this comprehensive plan issue with no response. I moved it forward because we have an obligation to the court, I think, because it's on remand to get it teed up for a vote by the commissioners.
Thank you, Max. So essentially, we have one thing in front of us today referencing the matter of 330 Rehoboth Avenue, and that is hoping to receive a motion to adopt a resolution proposing that a public hearing continuation be held on the subject of amending the Rehoboth Beach zoning map as noted in the agenda, and the day of the continued public hearing would be the 31st day of January 2025 at 10 a.m. I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Craig Thier and a second by Commissioner Ed Chernowski to adopt a resolution by the Commissioners of the City of Rehoboth Beach proposing that a public hearing continuation be held on the subject of amending the Rehoboth Beach zoning map referred to at Chapter 270, Section 270-7 of the Municipal Code, and the zoning district boundaries as referred to at Chapter 270, Section 270-8 of the Municipal Code of Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, by rezoning a portion of the property located at 330 Rehoboth Avenue, Sussex County Tax Parcel Number 334-1417-139.00 from R1 Single Family Residence District to C1 Central Commercial District, and amending the city's comprehensive development plan in accordance therewith. Such continuance public hearing to be held on the 31st day of January 2025 at 10 a.m. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No, and it's unanimous up here, and that without any no votes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Max, on that. With that, we'll go to the second item of business today, which is in the matter of Beach View Hotel located at 8 Wilmington Avenue. And what's before us is considering an adoption to set a public hearing date regarding a proposed ordinance to potentially change the residentially zoned portion of 8 Wilmington Avenue, tax parcel number as noted in the agenda, from R2 General Residential District to C2 Commercial Amusement District. Max?
So this issue was brought to my attention by the planning staff and Mary Ellen. Functionally, what has happened is that there's a very small portion of the hotel property that's zoned residential. It's like a very narrow strip that's zoned residential, and then part of the property is zoned C1 and part of the property is zoned C2. So I was at the Planning Commission when this matter was being discussed preliminarily, and the applicant thought that the residential zoning was a mistake, and I was brought in and said, do you have is there any way to correct the zoning? And I said no. We then went and looked at the comprehensive plan at that same meeting, and the comprehensive plan designates this entire parcel as commercial. And so therefore, under 22 Delaware Code 702, the city of Rehoboth, is obligated to rezone in accordance with their comprehensive plan within 18 months of comprehensive plan adoption, because no development is permitted except if it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. Someone has kindly put up on the screen the very narrow portion of the property that is zoned residential. Rather than trying to do a corrective sort of thing in the zoning code, I believe the commissioners should vote on the amendment to the zoning code consistent with the comprehensive plan. Therefore, we have prepared a resolution and a proposed ordinance. This is what's called a proactive rezoning under 22 Delaware Code 702.
All righty, so what's before us is a consideration of adopting a resolution to set a public hearing date regarding a proposed ordinance to potentially change the residentially zoned portion of 8 Wilmington Avenue as noted from R2 to C2. Is there any additional discussion?
Mayor, if I could.
And I want to go to the public also. Nobody in the public? Go ahead, Commissioner Thayer.
Great. So my question is a question for you, Max. So I understand what you're describing with, let me back up, right? So I understand what you're describing with the comprehensive development plan and the way it reads as well as the amended map. So I don't have any question about what is being proposed here, changing the zoning because to reflect what's in the map. My question is the change from R2 to C2, and specifically the property that is in question here that Beachview sits on is currently split zoned, right? Part of it is in C2, part of it is in C3. So my question is very specific to how did we determine, and more importantly, where is the documentation that kind of states our reasoning to go from R2 to C2 versus C3? And I really want to emphasize this isn't about me having any sort of predisposed opinion about whether it is C2 or C3. It's very specific to us having our documentation in order. So as we go into the future, if somebody is going to question why C2 versus C3, we have that documentation that we can point to.
Twofold answer to your question. First answer is there isn't a lot of documentation. This came up sort of rather quickly. That was what was basically recommended and ran by planning staff. If the commissioners would like to do C2 or consider at the public hearing C2 or C3, there's nothing that prohibits you from considering both designations. We would just amend the resolution and we'll tweak the ordinance a little bit for the public hearing to make sure that you can consider a C2 or a C3 designation. It doesn't matter to the hotel because both designations have a hotel zoning component.
I would like my strong preference would be to change it to consider C2 or C3. And my reasons are as follows. One is in the applicant's submission, and Max, you covered part of this, in their cover letter at the bottom of page 2 of that cover letter, they identify that the zoning is wrong, right? The zoning maps are wrong and they need to be updated, but they defer to the planning commission to essentially fix it. But they do not specify whether they want C2 or C3. When I read the building inspector's report on the project concept, in his report, he recognizes that the applicant has raised this and that the city staff, it's potentially an issue and the city staff needs to look into it, but doesn't provide us any, and I really want to kind of emphasize written direction or reasoning as to should it be C2 or C3. In that his document, Mr. Janis's document, he does highlight, I don't want to say he does highlight, he does include the zoning for R2, C2, C3, and all of the different things that are allowed. So I, again, kind of recap, I'd like us to change it. We consider C2, C3. We allow whether it's the applicant or Mr. Janis to come forth, explain to us appropriately in writing why we're going why we're selecting C2 or C3. So we have that in place for the future.
That's perfectly fine. If we could have, Commissioner, if you could make a motion to basically change the language in the resolution to include C2 and C3, that would be adopted, and then you could act on the resolution as a whole.
All right, very good. Anything else? Slight variation on what's before us. I would entertain a motion to consider a resolution, set a public hearing date regarding a proposed ordinance to potentially change the residentially zoned portion of 8 Wilmington Avenue, tax parcel number 334-14.8-40.00 from R2 General Residential District to C2 or C3.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ed Chernowski and a second by Commissioner Craig Thier to adopt a resolution setting a public hearing for 31st day of January 2025 at 10 o'clock a.m. Regarding a proposed ordinance to potentially change the residentially zoned portion of 8 Wilmington Avenue from R2 to C2 or C1 zoning designation.
C3.
C2 or C3. All right. Is there any further discussion? And again, there are no members of the public to ask. With that, we'll try just a group vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And the motion is carried unanimously, and the public hearing is set. As noted. Thank you, Max. We've got one more bit of business, which is to consider mayor's nomination of Rick Perry for appointment to the Board of Adjustment to fill the vacated seat of Mark Saunders. As you may know, our code does not allow a sitting commissioner to also sit as a Board of Adjustment member. And therefore, when Mark Saunders was elected and sworn in, he had to give up and vacate his seat on the Board of Adjustment. And so this motion is to allow for that vacated seat to be filled. I'm nominating Rick Perry. He has multiple applications in. He's shown interest over the years in this as well as other commissions. And I think he's got a very good resume and will fit the job professionally. Is there any discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion to appoint Rick Perry to fill the vacated seat of Mark Saunders.
Mayor, I'd like to make the motion to appoint Rick Perry to the seat now vacant on the Board of Adjustment.
All right, and do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Mark Saunders and a second by Commissioner Suzanne Good to appoint Mr. Rick Perry to the Board of Adjustment to fill the vacated seat of Mark Saunders, which I believe is for up to a 2-more-year term,
Till the end of September 26th.
September 2026. Is there any further discussion? If not, we've got a motion in front of us and appoint Rick Perry to the vacated seat of Mark Saunders on the Board of Adjustment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? And the motion's carried, and Rick Perry.
Mayor,
Oh,
just
oh.
I was silent. Out of abundance of caution, I'm going to recuse myself.
You don't need to, but okay. It still is a favorable vote, all right? With that, we'll note that citizen comment is next on the agenda. Again, we have no members of the public present. With that, no further business being held, I adjourn this meeting at 11:12 a.m. Thank you very much. Commissioners.